Easy, Thor. What is it, boy? You don't false alert. Not once in 7 years.
Sir, you're holding up the lane.
Yeah, sorry.
Thor's desperate barking filled the Costco warehouse, but everyone just rolled their eyes at what they thought was a badly behaved dog. Everyone except Lieutenant Marcus Chen, the Navy SEAL who knew his retired military dog had never given a false alert in 7 years of service. The pregnant woman Thor was trying to warn walked away toward the checkout line, completely unaware that in less than 3 days, she would be on an operating table where a trusted doctor planned to take much more than just her baby. Dr. Richard Sutton had built his reputation on helping mothers for 15 years. But what happened when Marcus finally understood what Thor was trying to say would expose the darkest secret San Diego's medical community had ever hidden. This is a true story of loyalty, courage, and how one dog's training saved lives that a corrupt system had already written off. The Saturday afternoon sun blazed over the San Diego Costco parking lot as Marcus Chen lifted the rear gate of his Ford F-150. Thor jumped down carefully, favoring his left rear leg just slightly. The German Shepherd's limp was barely noticeable now, nearly 2 years after the explosion in Kandahar that had ended both their military careers. "Easy, buddy," Marcus said quietly, running his hand along Thor's shoulders. The dog's muscles were still solid despite retirement, his dark eyes alert and scanning. Just a quick supply run, food, water bottles, the usual. Thor's tail wagged once, but his attention was already fixed on the warehouse entrance. Marcus clipped the service dog vest onto his partner and grabbed his own Costco card. The vest was legal and proper. Thor was a registered service animal for Marcus's PTSD, though the dog did far more than calm anxiety attacks. 7 years of military working dog training didn't just disappear because you retired. They walked through the automatic doors into the cool, echoing space of the warehouse. It was packed, as always on Saturday afternoons. Families pushed oversized carts. Kids begged for samples. The sound of scanner beeps and conversation filled the air. Marcus grabbed a cart and started down the main aisle. Thor walked perfectly at his left heel, ignoring the children who pointed and the adults who smiled. The dog had been trained to ignore distractions. Nothing broke his focus when he was working. They were passing through the produce section when Thor suddenly stopped. His body went rigid, his ears pushed forward. Marcus felt it immediately through the leash. "Thor, what is it?" The dog's nose lifted, testing the air. His whole body quivered with tension. Then, without warning, Thor barked, not the casual bark of a pet dog. This was his alert bark. Sharp, urgent, repeated. "Thor, heel," Marcus commanded quietly, feeling every eye in the produce section turn toward them. But Thor ignored him. The dog strained against the leash, barking continuously now, his attention locked on something in the crowd. Marcus followed his line of sight and saw her. A young woman, probably late 20s, very pregnant, examining a container of strawberries. She wore a simple blue dress and looked tired. Thor barked again, louder, more insistent. "Sir, you need to control your dog," a store employee said, hurrying over. His name tag read Kevin, and he looked nervous. "I'm sorry," Marcus said, tightening his grip on the leash. Thor was still barking, still focused on the pregnant woman. "Thor, down, down." The dog finally obeyed, dropping to his haunches, but he didn't stop making noise. A low, continuous whine came from his throat. His eyes never left the woman. The pregnant woman looked over at the commotion. She seemed more confused than upset. "Is everything okay?" she asked. "I'm very sorry, ma'am," Marcus said, feeling his face flush with embarrassment. "He's never done this before. I don't know what's gotten into him." "It's fine," she said with a small smile. "Dogs can be weird around pregnancy sometimes. The hormones or something." She turned back to her shopping, selecting a container of strawberries and placing it in her cart. Marcus watched her walk away toward the meat section, Thor's whining following her until she disappeared around a corner. "Sir, if your dog can't behave, I'll have to ask you to leave," Kevin said, though he spoke gently. "Service dog or not, he's disturbing other customers." "I understand," Marcus replied. "It won't happen again." But even as he said it, Marcus's mind was racing. In 7 years, Thor had never given a false alert. Never. The dog had been trained to detect explosives, then cross-trained in basic medical alert. He could smell changes in blood sugar, detect oncoming seizures, sense heart attacks before they happened. Whatever Thor had smelled on that woman had triggered every instinct in his military training. Marcus made a decision. Come on, Thor, let's finish shopping. They continued through the store, but Marcus deliberately steered their path to cross the pregnant woman's route several times. Each time they came within 30 feet of her, Thor's behavior changed. His ears perked up. His body tensed. He pulled toward her, whining softly. Marcus observed the woman carefully, trying not to be obvious about it. She looked healthy enough. Moved normally for someone in late pregnancy, checked her phone occasionally. Selected items from her list with careful attention to prices. There was something sad about her, though. She shopped alone, no wedding ring, no one called her, she seemed isolated. The third time their paths crossed, near the frozen foods, Thor barked again. Just once, but loud and sharp. The woman jumped slightly, then laughed. Your dog really doesn't like me, does he? I'm sorry, Marcus said again. Really, I don't understand it. He's normally so calm. It's okay, she said. Her smile was kind but didn't reach her eyes. I'm Sarah, by the way, Sarah Mitchell. Marcus Chen, and this is Thor. Like the god of thunder? Sarah asked, looking down at the German shepherd with interest. Exactly like that. He certainly makes enough noise sometimes. Marcus hesitated, then asked, when are you due, if you don't mind me asking? 3 weeks, Sarah said, placing a hand on her belly. Though my doctor thinks it might be sooner, first baby, I'm a little nervous, honestly. You'll do great, Marcus said automatically. You have family in San Diego. Something flickered across Sarah's face. Pain, maybe, or loneliness. No, I moved here from Oregon about 6 months ago. Fresh start, you know. The father isn't in the picture. It's just going to be me and the baby. Thor whined again, softer this time. His nose was working, testing the air around Sarah. Well, congratulations anyway, Marcus said. I hope everything goes smoothly. Thank you, I'm in good hands. Dr. Sutton at Pacific Memorial is amazing. Everyone says he's the best OB-GYN in San Diego. Marcus smiled and nodded, but something cold touched his spine when she said the name, Pacific Memorial. He knew that hospital. He'd done some volunteer work there with other veterans last year, and the name Sutton rang a bell, though he couldn't place why. Sarah checked her watch. I should finish up. I have an appointment at the hospital in an hour, just a checkup. Take care, Sarah, Marcus said. She waved and pushed her cart toward the checkout lanes. Thor watched her go, whining continuously until she was out of sight. Marcus stood in the frozen foods aisle, his mind working through possibilities. Thor's alert had been clear and consistent. The dog smelled something wrong. But what? Sarah looked healthy. She was pregnant, but that was normal. She was going to see her doctor. Everything seemed fine. Except Thor never gave false alerts. Marcus pulled out his phone and typed Dr. Sutton Pacific Memorial San Diego into the search engine. The results loaded quickly. Dr. Richard Sutton, Medical Director of Obstetrics, graduated from Johns Hopkins. Board certified for 20 years, excellent reviews, multiple awards for patient care. His photo showed a distinguished man with silver hair and a confident smile. Nothing suspicious, nothing that would explain Thor's reaction. Marcus finished his shopping in a distracted state, his mind returning again and again to Sarah Mitchell and Thor's desperate barking. He checked out, loaded his truck, and drove home to his small house in Myra Mesa. But he couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something important. That evening, Marcus sat on his back porch with a beer, Thor lying at his feet. The dog seemed restless, standing up occasionally to pace before settling again. What did you smell, boy? Marcus asked quietly. What was wrong with her? Thor looked up at him with dark, intelligent eyes. If dogs could talk, Marcus knew Thor would tell him, but all the German shepherd could do was whine and pace. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from his buddy Jake Reeves, another former SEAL who'd settled in San Diego after retirement. Beer tomorrow night, haven't seen you in weeks. Marcus typed back, yeah, actually can I ask you something? You still talk to Maria from the VA. Maria Delgado worked as a patient advocate at the VA hospital, but she had contacts all over San Diego's medical community. Sure, why? Jake responded. Just curious about a doctor at Pacific Memorial. Dr. Richard Sutton, know anything about him? Three dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, why are you asking about Sutton? The way Jake phrased it made Marcus sit up straighter. Something happened today. Thor alerted on a pregnant woman. She mentioned Sutton as her doctor. Probably nothing, but Thor's never wrong. Call me now, Jake's text was urgent. Marcus dialed immediately. Jake picked up on the first ring. Marcus, listen to me carefully, Jake said, his voice low. I don't know anything specific about Sutton, but Maria mentioned something a few months ago. There was a nurse at Pacific Memorial asking questions, trying to find someone to listen. Something about irregularities in the OB department. Maria couldn't help her officially, but she said the nurse seemed scared. Scared of what? I don't know, Maria didn't get details. The nurse wouldn't talk officially, said she needed more proof first. But here's the thing that stuck with Maria. The nurse said several pregnant women had complications during delivery, more than seemed normal, and some of them didn't make it. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. Deaths. That's what Maria understood. But it's a hospital, right? Complications happen, could be nothing. Or it could be something, Marcus said quietly, watching Thor pace across the porch again. You think Thor smelled something medical, something wrong with the woman? I don't know, but he was absolutely certain about his alert. And this woman, Sarah, she's alone, no family, no support system, she's vulnerable. Jake was quiet for a moment. You want me to ask Maria if she can track down that nurse? Yeah, and keep it quiet. If there is something wrong, I don't want to tip anyone off. Roger that, I'll call you tomorrow. After they hung up, Marcus sat in the darkness thinking. Thor had settled now, lying with his head on his paws, but his eyes were still open, still watchful. We might have a mission, buddy, Marcus said softly, just like the old days. Thor's tail thumped once against the wooden deck. Marcus spent the next several hours on his laptop, researching everything he could find about Dr. Richard Sutton and Pacific Memorial Hospital. On the surface, everything looked perfect. Sutton had an impeccable reputation. His patients left glowing reviews. He'd won multiple awards for maternal care. He served on medical boards. He donated to charities. But Marcus had learned in the military that the cleanest-looking operations sometimes hid the darkest secrets. And he'd also learned to trust his dog's nose more than any human intelligence. At midnight, Marcus finally went to bed, but he didn't sleep well. He kept seeing Sarah Mitchell's face, her tired smile, her hand resting on her pregnant belly. 3 weeks until her due date. 3 weeks to figure out what Thor had sensed. 3 weeks to decide if he was chasing shadows or if that pregnant woman was really in danger. Thor slept on the floor beside the bed, as he always did. But twice during the night, Marcus woke to find the dog sitting up, alert, staring at the bedroom door as if expecting an enemy to come through it. Sunday morning came with bright sunshine and coastal fog burning off by 8 a.m. Marcus took Thor for a long run on the beach, trying to clear his head and think through what he knew, which wasn't much. A dog's alert, a pregnant woman, a respected doctor, a rumor about a scared nurse. Not exactly solid intelligence. His phone rang as they were walking back to the truck. Jake Reeves. I talked to Maria, Jake said without preamble. She's willing to meet with you, but it has to be unofficial and off the record. When and where? Today, if you can, there's a coffee shop in La Jolla near the beach. Panikin, she can meet you at 2. I'll be there. Marcus showered and changed, then drove to La Jolla with Thor in the back seat. The coffee shop was busy with Sunday afternoon customers, but Maria had secured a table on the outdoor patio where Thor could sit comfortably. Maria Delgado was a strong woman in her 50s, with dark hair pulled back in a bun and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She'd been a Navy nurse before transitioning to the VA, and she carried herself with military precision. Jake says your dog alerted on a pregnant woman, Maria said after they'd exchanged greetings and ordered coffee. And she's a patient of Richard Sutton's. That's right, my dog has military medical detection training. He's never given a false alert. Maria studied Thor, who sat calmly beside Marcus's chair. I believe you, and I believe there's something wrong at Pacific Memorial, but I have to tell you up front I have no proof of anything, just concerns, questions, things that don't add up. Tell me what you know. Maria wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. About 4 months ago, a nurse named Jennifer Torres came to see me. She works in the operating rooms at Pacific Memorial, specifically in the OB surgical unit. She was shaking when she came into my office. Said she needed advice but couldn't go through official channels. Well, why not? Because Dr. Richard Sutton runs that department with an iron fist. He's the medical director. He controls hearing, firing, funding, everything. And Jennifer said if she made official accusations without ironclad proof, she'd be fired and blacklisted. She has 2 kids in college. She can't afford to lose her job. What did she tell you? Maria leaned forward, lowering her voice even though no one sat nearby. She said the complication rate in Sutton's deliveries was higher than it should be, not by much, not enough to trigger automatic reviews, but enough that she noticed. And most of the complications happened with a specific type of patient. What type? Young women, first-time mothers, women without strong family support, women who were alone or isolated, women like your Sarah Mitchell. The cold feeling in Marcus's stomach intensified. What kind of complications? Excessive bleeding during delivery, emergency hysterectomies. In 3 cases over the past 2 years, maternal death. The Bobbies survived, but the mothers didn't. That's not normal. It happens, unfortunately. Childbirth has risks, but Jennifer said something else that worried her. In several cases, Sutton insisted on being the only surgeon in the OR. He sent staff out for supposed supply runs during critical moments. He performed procedures alone that should have had multiple witnesses. And no one questioned this. He's the medical director, Marcus. He has the authority to run his ORs how he wants, and his record is mostly excellent. For every complicated case, he has 20 perfect deliveries. The hospital administrators worship him. He brings in millions in revenue. Thor shifted under the table, pressing against Marcus's leg. The dog could sense his rising tension. Did Jennifer give you any specific evidence? Marcus asked. No, that's why she came to me. She wanted advice on how to gather proof without getting caught. I told her to document everything. Times, dates, patient names, procedures. Keep it at home, not at the hospital. I also told her to be very careful. You think Sutton is dangerous? Maria met his eyes steadily. I think anyone who's gotten away with something for years and has a lot to lose can be dangerous when they're threatened. And Marcus, if there is something criminal happening, it's been happening for a long time. Sutton's been the OB director for 15 years. Marcus processed this. Can you put me in touch with Jennifer? I can try, but she was already scared 4 months ago. I don't know if she'll talk to a stranger. Tell her I'm not looking to expose her. I'm looking to help someone who might be in danger. A pregnant woman who's alone and vulnerable, exactly the type of patient you described. Maria nodded slowly. I'll reach out, give me your numbers. They exchanged information, and Marcus bought Maria another coffee before they parted ways. He sat in his truck in the parking lot for a long time afterward, staring at the ocean and thinking. If Thor's alert was right, if Jennifer's suspicions were correct, then Sarah Mitchell was scheduled to walk into a hospital in 3 weeks and put her life in the hands of a man who might be targeting women exactly like her. But why? What could a doctor possibly gain from harming his patients? Money was always a motive, but how did dead mothers translate to profit? Marcus pulled out his phone and started researching maternal mortality, hospital fraud, and medical crimes. What he found made him sick to his stomach. There were cases, rare but real, of doctors harvesting organs illegally, of hospitals billing for procedures that never happened, of medical professionals targeting vulnerable patients who had no family to ask questions or demand autopsies. And transplant organs, particularly from young healthy donors, were worth hundreds of thousands of dollars on the black market. Pregnant women had two sets of organs, mother and child. Marcus dropped his phone in his lap and closed his eyes. "Oh God," he whispered. Thor whined from the back seat. Could it be that simple and that horrible? Was Sutton harvesting organs from women who died in childbirth? Women whose deaths could be explained away as complications? Women who were alone and isolated, with no family to ask difficult questions? It would explain the higher complication rate. It would explain why Sutton cleared the OR of witnesses. It would explain why he targeted vulnerable women. It would explain everything. But it was just a theory. Marcus had no proof, and making accusations against a respected doctor based on a dog's alert and suspicious statistics would get him laughed out of any police station. He needed evidence, real, solid evidence. His phone rang. Maria Delgado. "Jennifer will meet you," Maria said. "But she's terrified. You have to promise complete confidentiality." "I promise." "Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. There's a park in Claremont called Tecolote Canyon. Meet her at the North Trailhead. Come alone." "I will, thank you, Maria." "Marcus, one more thing. Jennifer told me something else when she first came to see me. She said she thinks Sutton has connections to organized crime. She didn't have proof of that either, but she overheard phone conversations. References to payments. Code words. She thinks whatever he's doing, he's not doing it alone." After Maria hung up, Marcus sat in the growing darkness of the parking lot, his mind racing. This was bigger than he'd thought, more dangerous. If Sutton was connected to organized crime, then investigating him could put Marcus in real danger, could put Jennifer in danger, could put anyone asking questions in danger. But Sarah Mitchell was already in danger, and she didn't even know it. Marcus started the truck and headed home. He had 24 hours to prepare for the meeting with Jennifer Torres. 24 hours to figure out how a retired Navy SEAL was going to take down a corrupt doctor and whatever criminal network stood behind him. That night, Marcus pulled out equipment he hadn't touched in 2 years. His old surveillance camera, military-grade and tiny, his encrypted phone still programmed with secure contacts, his lockpick set officially for training purposes, his climbing gear useful for accessing places that were supposed to be inaccessible. Thor watched from his bed in the corner, alert and interested. The dog knew these preparations. He'd seen them before in another life in another country. "We're going back to work, buddy," Marcus said quietly. "One more missions." Monday dragged by slowly. Marcus tried to distract himself with errands and exercise, but his mind kept returning to Sarah Mitchell. Was she at work somewhere, completely unaware of the danger? Was she at another doctor's appointment, trusting Sutton with her life? He wanted to call her, warn her, tell her to find a different doctor. But he couldn't, not yet, not without proof. She'd think he was crazy. Worse, she might tell Sutton, and that would warn the doctor that someone was asking questions. At 7:30 p.m., Marcus drove to Tecolote Canyon with Thor. The park was quiet at this hour, the hiking trails empty as darkness fell. He parked at the North Trailhead and waited. At exactly 8 p.m., a small Honda pulled up beside his truck. A woman got out, looking around nervously. She was in her 40s, wearing jeans and a jacket, her dark hair loose around her shoulders. Marcus stepped out of his truck. "Jennifer." "Are you Marcus?" Her voice shook slightly. "Yes, this is Thor. He's friendly." Jennifer looked at the German shepherd, then back at Marcus. "Maria said you were military." "Navy SEAL, retired. Thor was my working dog." "And your dog alerted on a pregnant woman who's Dr. Sutton's patient." "Yes, yesterday. Her name is Sarah Mitchell. She's due in 3 weeks." Jennifer's face went pale in the dim light. "Oh God, Sarah Mitchell, I know that name. She's on the surgical schedule." "For when?" Next Friday, Sutton moved her delivery date up, scheduled C-section. He told her the baby was in distress, that waiting was too risky. Marcus felt ice spread through his chest. But there's nothing wrong with the baby, is there? I don't know, Jennifer said. I only see the surgical schedules, not the patient charts. But Marcus, every time Sutton schedules an early C-section like this, something goes wrong during the delivery. Every single time. The women die. Some of them, others need emergency hysterectomies. Others have complications that require extended hospital stays and multiple surgeries. Jennifer's voice cracked. And the pattern is always the same. Young women, first bobbies, no family support. Scheduled C-sections that get moved up for supposed medical reasons. How many women? Marcus asked quietly. That I know of for certain, 12 over the past 3 years. 3 died. The others had severe complications. But I think there have been more. Cases I didn't see because I wasn't scheduled for those surgeries. Why hasn't anyone else noticed? Because Sutton spreads them out. 1 case every few months. Different complications listed, different causes of death. And like I said, he has 20 successful deliveries for every complicated one. His overall numbers look fine, better than fine. He's considered one of the best OBGYNs in the state. Marcus leaned against his truck trying to process this. What do you think he's doing? Jennifer looked around the empty parking lot before answering. I think he's harvesting organs. I think he deliberately causes complications that result in death or near death, and then he takes organs while the patient is on the table. I've seen him send staff away at critical moments. I've seen him have private conversations on his cell phone during surgeries using code words. I've seen deliveries where the blood loss doesn't match the procedure that was performed. Have you documented all this? Everything I could without accessing files I'm not authorized to see, but it's not enough. It's observations and suspicions, not proof. I'd need patient files, surgical notes, tissue samples, things I can't get without breaking into secure systems. Do you know who Sutton is selling to? No, but I've heard him on the phone. He talks about shipments and deliveries and quality. He uses a burner phone for these calls. I only hear them when he thinks he's alone in the prep room. Marcus thought for a long moment. Sarah Mitchell's surgery is scheduled for Friday. Yes, next Friday, 6 days from now. Can you get me into the hospital? I need to see the OB surgical unit, understand the layout, figure out where evidence might be kept. Jennifer's eyes widened. If we get caught, I lose my job, maybe worse. I know, and I wouldn't ask if there was another way, but Sarah Mitchell has no idea she's in danger. In 6 days, she's going to walk into that hospital expecting to have her baby safely. Instead, she might die, or wake up missing organs, or lose her ability to ever have another child. We can't let that happen. Jennifer stared at him for a long time, then she nodded. Tomorrow night, I'm scheduled for the evening shift, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. If you come in at 9, the surgical unit will be busy, easier to blend in. I can get you scrubs, a badge, but you have to know what you're looking for. I do, and I have someone who can help us. Someone who handles this kind of investigation professionally. Who? A friend from my SEAL team. He works for NCIS now, Naval Criminal Investigative Service. They handle military-related crimes, but they also work with the FBI on human trafficking and organ smuggling cases. If we can get them evidence, they can build a case. Will they protect me? Jennifer asked quietly. Will they protect my family? Yes, I promise you that. NCIS protects whistleblowers. And once this goes federal, Sutton won't be able to touch you. Jennifer took a deep breath, then nodded again. Okay, tomorrow night, 9 p.m., come to the emergency entrance. I'll meet you there with everything you need. They exchanged phone numbers. Using a secure messaging app Marcus's NCIS contact had recommended years ago. Then Jennifer got back in her car and drove away, leaving Marcus alone in the dark parking lot with Thor. Marcus immediately called Jake Reeves. I need you to reach out to that NCIS buddy of yours, Marcus said when Jake answered. The one from our old platoon. Tell him I have a situation that needs federal attention. Possible illegal organ harvesting at a civilian hospital. Jake whistled. Serious stuff, brother, you sure about this? My dog alerted. A nurse has been documenting irregularities for months. A pregnant woman is scheduled for surgery in 6 days and I think she's being set up. Yeah, I'm sure. All right, I'll call Tony Alvarez. He's stationed at the San Diego office. I'll tell him you need to talk tonight. Well, thanks, Jake. 2 hours later, Marcus was sitting in a late-night diner in downtown San Diego across from Tony Alvarez, an NCIS special agent he'd worked with on several overseas operations. Tony was in his 40s now, with gray starting to show in his dark hair, but he still had the sharp eyes and careful manner of a good investigator. Marcus laid out everything he knew: Thor's alert, Sarah Mitchell, Jennifer Tor's observations, the pattern of vulnerable women having complications, the suspicion of organ harvesting, the connection to organized crime. Tony listened without interrupting, taking notes on a small pad. When Marcus finished, Tony leaned back in the booth and studied him. Your dog alerted on this woman? Tony asked. Yes, medical detection alert. Thor's never been wrong. And this nurse, Jennifer Torres, she's willing to go on record. Well, if she has protection, yes. The pregnant woman, Sarah Mitchell, she's scheduled for surgery in 6 days. Friday, scheduled C-section at Pacific Memorial Hospital. Tony tapped his pen against his notepad. Here's what I can do. Based on what you've told me, I can open a preliminary investigation into Dr. Richard Sutton, but I need evidence, real evidence, not just a dog's alert and a nurse's suspicions. I'm going into the hospital tomorrow night. Jennifer is getting me access. I'm going to look for patient files, surgical records, anything that shows a pattern. That's breaking and entering, illegal search. Anything you find would be inadmissible in court. But it would give you probable cause to get a warrant, wouldn't it? Tony smiled slightly. You know how this works, Marcus. Yeah, if you find evidence of a crime and report it to me, I can use that to justify a warrant for official records, but you need to be careful. If Sutton is connected to organized crime like your nurse thinks, he'll have security, probably armed, definitely dangerous. I'm a Navy SEAL, Tony. I can handle security. You're a retired Navy SEAL investigating a civilian crime. You have no legal authority, no backup, no air support. If something goes wrong, you're on your own. I understand. Tony studied him for another long moment. Why are you doing this, Marcus? You don't know this woman. You don't owe her anything. Marcus thought about Sarah Mitchell's tired smile in the Costco aisle, her hand resting on her pregnant belly, her loneliness, her vulnerability. Because Thor alerted, he said simply, and Thor's never wrong. That woman is in danger and I'm the only one who knows it. What else can I do? Tony nodded slowly. All right, here's my official advice. Don't break into the hospital. Don't take anything that doesn't belong to you. Don't put yourself in danger. And your unofficial advice? Be careful, get evidence. Call me immediately if you find anything. And Marcus, don't get killed doing this. I don't want to explain to your mom why her son died investigating a doctor. They shook hands and Tony slid a business card across the table. My personal cell. Call any time, day or night. I'll have a team ready to move if you find what we need. Marcus pocketed the card and left the diner, Thor at his heel. The next 24 hours would be critical. He needed to prepare for infiltrating a hospital, gathering evidence, and getting out without being caught. It was like a military operation, except the enemy wore a white coat and the battlefield was surgical rooms and medical records. He'd done harder things in Afghanistan. At least he hoped he had. The next day, Tuesday, Marcus prepared methodically. He reviewed the hospital's layout online, noting security camera locations and access points. He tested his surveillance equipment, making sure everything still worked after 2 years of storage. He practiced his cover story. He was a medical equipment salesman interested in observing Pacific Memorial's surgical setup. At 8:30 p.m., he pulled into the Pacific Memorial parking garage. He wore khakis and a button-down shirt, looking professional but unremarkable. Thor stayed in the truck this time, windows cracked, water bowl full. "Guard," Marcus told him. The dog would bark if anyone approached the vehicle. Marcus walked to the emergency entrance, his heart rate steady despite the risk. A Navy SEAL's training never really left you. You learn to control fear, to appear calm even when walking into danger. Jennifer Torres was waiting just inside the automatic doors, wearing scrubs and a stressed expression. She handed him a hospital badge clipped to a lanyard and a set of scrubs in his size. "Men's bathroom is around that corner," she whispered. "Change quickly. The badge will get you through most doors. Just stay close to me and look like you belong here." Marcus changed in a bathroom stall, clipping the badge to his scrub top. The name on it read Dr. Michael Chang, surgical consultant. Fake, but good enough to pass a casual glance. He met Jennifer in the hallway, and she led him to the elevators. They rode to the 4th floor in silence, surrounded by doctors and nurses too tired or busy to pay attention to one more person in scrubs. The OB surgical unit was quiet at this hour. Most scheduled surgeries happened during the day. The evening shift focused on emergencies and post-op care. Jennifer led Marcus through a maze of corridors to a staff lounge that was temporarily empty. "Sutton's office is down that hall," she said, pointing. "But it's locked and there are cameras. The surgical records room is next to it, also locked, also monitored. But there's a workstation in the recovery area where staff can access patient files if they have the right credentials." "Do you have the right credentials?" "For my own patients, yes. But accessing files for patients I'm not assigned to would trigger an alert. The security system tracks who looks at what." Marcus thought for a moment. What about physical files, old-school paper records? "Those are kept in the records room, but like I said, it's locked and monitored. The security cameras can be avoided, locks can be picked. Show me the layout." Jennifer led him through the surgical unit, pointing out locations while pretending to show him equipment. Marcus memorized everything: the camera positions, the door types, the sight lines, the staff patterns. The records room was at the end of a hallway, with a camera pointed at the door from 20 feet away. The lock was electronic, requiring a badge swipe. Through the small window in the door, Marcus could see rows of filing cabinets. "Those cabinets contain patient files for the past 5 years, Jennifer whispered. "Anything older is digitized and stored offsite, but if Sutton's pattern started 3 years ago, the evidence would be in those cabinets." "What's his office like?" "Bigger than it should be. He keeps it locked always. I've only been inside twice, both times with him present. He has a private computer, a safe, and a lot of expensive furniture. I think he conducts his outside business from there." They walked past Sutton's office. The door was solid wood with a similar electronic lock. The nameplate read Dr. Richard Sutton, Medical Director, Obstetrics. Marcus noted everything, building a mental map. Then Jennifer's phone buzzed. "I have to get back to the surgical floor," she said. "Emergency C-section coming in. Can you find your way out?" "Oh yes, thank you for this." "Find something, Marcus, please. I can't keep watching this happen." Jennifer hurried away and Marcus took his time walking back toward the elevators. He passed nurses, doctors, orderlies. No one questioned him. The badge and scrubs made him invisible, just another medical professional in a building full of them. But as he turned a corner near the elevators, he nearly collided with a tall man in an expensive suit. The man was in his 50s, with silver hair and cold blue eyes. He looked at Marcus with the kind of sharp attention that missed nothing. "I don't recognize you," the man said. His voice was smooth and authoritative. Marcus's training kicked in immediately. "Stay calm, play the role. Dr. Chang, surgical consultant, just finishing my observation tour. At 9:30 at night. I prefer to see the evening operations. That's when you learn what a surgical unit really does, not just the scheduled performances." The man studied him for another moment, then smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Richard Sutton, I run this unit. I don't recall authorizing a consultant observation. Marcus smiled back, equally cold. It was arranged through your administrative office. Perhaps the paperwork hasn't crossed your desk yet. You know how hospital bureaucracy can be. Indeed, Sutton's eyes flicked to the badge on Marcus's chest. Well, I hope you found our facilities satisfactory, Dr. Chang. Very impressive, you run a tight operation. I do, and I keep close track of everyone who has access to my surgical unit. I'll be calling your references, Dr. Chang, just routine follow-up. Of course, I look forward to speaking with you again. They stood there for a moment, two predators taking each other's measure. Then Sutton nodded curtly and walked away toward his office, his steps sharp and confident. Marcus waited until Sutton disappeared, then took the elevator down to the ground floor. His cover was blown. Sutton would check the credentials, find out Dr. Michael Chang didn't exist or wasn't really here, and know someone had been investigating his unit. The timeline had just accelerated. Marcus changed back into his street clothes and hurried to his truck. Thor greeted him with a wagging tail and worried eyes. The dog always knew when a mission went wrong. We're okay, buddy, Marcus said, pulling out of the parking garage faster than he should have. But we just made an enemy. He called Tony Alvarez from the truck, using his encrypted phone. Sutton spotted me, Marcus said without preamble. He knows someone was looking around his unit. He's going to increase security, maybe move up his timeline with Sarah Mitchell. Did you get any evidence? No, but I got the layout. I know where the files are kept, where his office is. Tony, I need to go back in, tonight, before he has time to destroy evidence. Marcus, that's too dangerous. If he knows someone's investigating, then he'll either run or he'll strike. Either way, Sarah Mitchell is in danger. Her surgery is scheduled for Friday. That's 4 days from now. We're running out of time. Tony was silent for a moment. What do you need from me? A warrant. Can you get a judge to authorize a search of the hospital, of Sutton's office and the records room? Based on what evidence? A dog's alert and a nurse's testimony. No judge will sign that warrant. Then I'm going in without one, tonight. I'll get you evidence and you can use it to justify a formal search tomorrow. Well, Marcus. Tony, I didn't survive 12 years in the SEALs just to watch a pregnant woman get murdered because I was too afraid to break a hospital window. I'm going in. You can either help me or you can pretend we never had this conversation. Another long silence. Then Tony sighed. If you do this, you do it alone. I can't officially support a civilian breaking into a hospital, but if you happen to discover evidence of a crime and report it to me, I can respond appropriately. Understood. Be careful, brother, and Marcus. Don't get caught. I really don't want to arrest you. Marcus smiled grimly. I won't be caught. He drove home, his mind already planning the operation. Breaking into a hospital at night was risky, but he'd broken into Taliban compounds in Afghanistan. A civilian hospital with minimal security would be easier. Probably. At home, Marcus laid out his equipment on the living room floor. Black clothes, lock picks, a small camera, a flashlight with a red lens, climbing gloves, his old SEAL knife just in case. Thor watched the preparations with intense interest, his tail wagging slowly. Not this time, buddy, Marcus said quietly. This is a solo mission. I need you to guard the truck. But even as he said it, Marcus wished he could bring the dog. Thor's nose had started this whole thing. It seemed right that Thor should be there to finish it. At 2 a.m., when hospitals were at their quietest, Marcus drove back to Pacific Memorial. He parked in a dark corner of the garage, away from security cameras, and told Thor to guard. The dog whined softly, sensing danger but obeyed. Marcus approached the hospital from the side, staying in shadows. The main entrances would have security guards, but service entrances were often less protected. He found one near the loading dock, a heavy door with an electronic lock. He waited, watching the pattern. Every 30 minutes, a security guard did a patrol past this area. Marcus timed it carefully. When the guard passed, he had exactly 30 minutes before the next patrol. He used a credit card trick he'd learned years ago to slip the electronic lock, and the door clicked open. Inside was a service corridor, dimly lit and empty. Marcus moved quickly and quietly down the hallway, following the route Jennifer had shown him earlier. The stairs to the fourth floor were unmonitored. Most hospitals focus security on entrances and exits, not interior movement. Marcus climbed quickly, listening for voices or footsteps. The fourth floor was quiet. A few nurses sat at stations, filling out paperwork or checking monitors. Marcus waited until they were distracted, then moved past them in the shadows, his dark clothes making him nearly invisible in the dim nighttime lighting. The records room was down the hallway, exactly where Jennifer had shown him. The security camera pointed at the door from 20 feet away. Marcus studied it for a moment, then pulled out a small laser pointer from his pocket. He'd learned this trick from a CIA operative years ago. Point a laser into a security camera lens and it blinds the camera without actually destroying it. Later, it just looks like a malfunction. Marcus shined the laser at the camera, waited 5 seconds to make sure it worked, then approached the door. The electronic lock took him 3 minutes to bypass using a small device that cycled through common code combinations. The door clicked open. Inside, the records room was dark and cool. Rows of filing cabinets stretched from floor to ceiling. Marcus closed the door behind him and pulled out his flashlight with the red lens, less visible than white light. The cabinets were labeled by year and patient last name. Marcus went to the section for 3 years ago and started pulling files for women patients. He photographed each file with his phone, working quickly but carefully. In the files, a pattern emerged. Young women, first pregnancies, scheduled C-sections, and then in the surgical notes, complications, excessive bleeding, emergency procedures. Several files had notes about organ damage that required removal. 2 files ended with death certificates. Marcus found Sarah Mitchell's file in the current year section. Her surgery was indeed scheduled for Friday, moved up from the original due date. The notes claimed fetal distress, but the medical evidence was thin. It looked exactly like the other files he'd photographed. He took pictures of everything, focusing on the surgical notes and post-operative reports. The pattern was undeniable now: too many complications, too many emergency procedures, too many vulnerable women. Then he heard voices in the hallway. Marcus froze, his flashlight off, listening. 2 people talking in low voices. They stopped right outside the records room. I checked the security footage from earlier. Someone was looking around the unit. Sutton wants to know who. I already checked. The cameras show a guy in scrubs with a fake badge, but he's gone now. Sutton thinks he'll come back, wants extra security tonight. I'm supposed to check all the locked rooms. Marcus heard keys jingling. He looked around the records room desperately. No windows, no other exits, just filing cabinets and a locked door that was about to open. He moved quickly to the far corner of the room, behind the tallest filing cabinet, and pressed himself into the shadows. The door opened, and light from the hallway spilled in. A security guard stepped inside, shining a flashlight around the room. The beam swept over the filing cabinets, past Marcus's hiding spot, then back toward the door. Nothing here, the guard called out to his partner. All clears. But he didn't leave. He stood in the doorway, his flashlight still moving around the room, as if he sensed something wasn't right. Marcus stayed absolutely still, controlling his breathing, his heart rate, his every muscle. SEAL training: become invisible, become nothing. Finally, after what felt like hours but was probably 30 seconds, the guard stepped back and closed the door. Marcus waited in the darkness for a full 5 minutes, making sure they were really gone. Then he finished photographing the files he needed, put everything back exactly as he'd found it, and crept to the door. The hallway was empty. The security guard had moved on to check other rooms. Marcus slipped out, careful to relock the door behind him, and made his way back to the service entrance. He was almost there when he heard footsteps behind him. Fast footsteps, running. Hey, you stop. Marcus ran. He hit the service entrance at full speed, slammed through it, and sprinted across the parking garage to his truck. Thor barked in alarm as Marcus jumped in, started the engine, and peeled out of the parking space. In his rearview mirror, he saw two security guards running out of the hospital, shouting into radios. But he was already out of the garage, merging into late-night traffic, disappearing into San Diego's streets. Marcus drove for 20 minutes making random turns, making sure he wasn't followed. Finally, certain he was clear, he pulled into a 24-hour diner parking lot and called Tony Alvarez. I got evidence, Marcus said when Tony answered. Patient files, surgical records, I'm sending you the photos now. It shows a clear pattern of targeting vulnerable women and causing complications. Some of them died, others lost organs unnecessarily. Where are you? Tony asked, his voice sharp and alert despite the late hour. Somewhere safe, I'm sending the files now. How fast can you move on this? If the evidence is solid, I can have a warrant by morning and a team at the hospital by noon. But Marcus, did you get seen? Security chased me, but they didn't get a good look. I'm clear. All right, send the files. I'll review them and call you back within the hour. Marcus uploaded the photos to the secure server Tony had given him access to, then sat in his truck with Thor's head in his lap, waiting. The adrenaline was wearing off now, leaving him tired and shaky. They'd done it, they had evidence. Tomorrow, NCIS would raid the hospital, arrest Sutton, and save Sarah Mitchell. Except it wasn't tomorrow, it was already Wednesday morning. Sarah's surgery was Friday, 2 days away. Marcus's phone rang. Tony. This is solid evidence, Tony said. I'm calling a federal judge right now. We'll have a warrant by 9 a.m. and a team at Pacific Memorial by 10 a.m. Good work, Marcus. What about Sarah Mitchell? Her surgery is Friday. We'll contact her today, tell her the surgery has been canceled due to an ongoing investigation. She'll be safe. And Jennifer Torres, the nurse who helped me. We'll interview her as a witness, and she'll be protected under federal whistleblower laws. She'll keep her job, and Sutton won't be able to retaliate. Marcus felt relief wash over him. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Marcus. You did good work here. Dangerous and technically illegal work, but good. After they hung up, Marcus drove home and fell into bed exhausted. Thor curled up beside him, finally relaxed now that the danger had passed. But Marcus couldn't quite relax. Something nagged at him, something he'd seen in the files but couldn't quite place. He was too tired to figure it out now, though. Whatever it was would have to wait until morning. Marcus woke at 8 a.m. to his phone ringing. Jennifer Torres, her voice panicked. Marcus, Sarah Mitchell is at the hospital. She came in 2 hours ago with contractions. Sutton says the baby is in distress and she needs an emergency C-section right now. They're prepping her for surgery. Marcus was out of bed instantly, reaching for his clothes. Right now, but her surgery was scheduled for Friday. I know, but he moved it up, said the baby can't wait. Marcus, if he operates on her this morning, she's going to die just like the others. Where is she now? Surgical prep, room 4B, they're putting her under anesthesia in 20 minutes. Marcus looked at his watch. 8:15 a.m. Tony Alvarez said the warrant would be ready by 9, the team at the hospital by 10, too late, an hour and 45 minutes too late. I'm on my way, Marcus said. Do not let them start that surgery. Whatever you have to do, delay it. How? I'm just a nurse, Sutton's the surgeon. Jennifer, you've been documenting this for months. You've risked everything to expose him. Don't lose your courage now. That woman's life depends on you. Marcus heard Jennifer take a shaky breath. Okay, I'll try. Marcus dressed in record time, grabbed Thor's leash and ran for his truck. He called Tony Alvarez while speeding toward the hospital. Sarah Mitchell is at Pacific Memorial right now, Marcus said. Emergency surgery, Sutton's going to operate. What? She's not due until Friday. He moved it up, they're putting her under right now. Tony, if you don't get there in the next 20 minutes, she's going to die on that operating table. I'm 30 minutes away and I don't have the warrant yet. The judge is still reviewing. Then call the San Diego police. Call hospital security. Call anyone who can stop this surgery. Marcus, without a warrant, I can't just shut down a hospital operation. I need legal authority. That woman is going to die. I know, but I can't act without proper authorization. I'm a federal agent, not a cowboy. Give me 45 minutes. I'll get the warrant and get there as fast as I can. Marcus hung up and pressed the accelerator harder. The truck roared through San Diego morning traffic, Thor bracing himself in the back seat. Marcus knew he was being reckless, knew he was breaking traffic laws, but he didn't care. Sarah Mitchell had no one else, no family, no support, just a Navy SEAL she'd met once in Costco and a dog who'd tried to warn her. He made it to Pacific Memorial in 12 minutes, a drive that should have taken 25. He parked illegally in the emergency zone and jumped out, Thor at his heels. Come on, buddy, we're saving a life today. They ran through the emergency entrance past startled staff toward the elevators. A security guard called after them, but Marcus ignored him. They rode the elevator to the 4th floor, Marcus's heart pounding. The surgical unit was in organized chaos. Nurses moved quickly between rooms. Doctors consulted over charts. No one paid attention to one more person in street clothes with a service dog. Marcus found room 4B through the small window. He could see Sarah Mitchell on a gurney, her eyes drowsy from preoperative medication. 2 nurses were checking her vitals. Dr. Richard Sutton stood nearby in scrubs, looking at his watch with barely concealed impatience. Marcus pushed through the door. Stop, don't do this surgery. Everyone turned to stare at him. Sutton's face went from surprise to anger in an instant. Who the hell are you, security? My name is Marcus Chen. I'm a Navy SEAL, and I'm telling you this surgery is part of a criminal operation. NCIS is on their way with a federal warrant. You're insane, security. Sutton moved toward a call button on the wall. But Marcus was faster. He stepped between Sutton and the button, Thor at his side growling low in his throat. Sarah, Marcus said, turning to the woman on the gurney. She looked confused and frightened. Sarah, do you remember me from Costco with Thor? Yes, the dog that barked at me. He was trying to warn you. My dog is trained to detect medical problems. He smelled something wrong. Sarah, you're not having complications. Your baby is fine. But Dr. Sutton has been targeting women exactly like you. Women who are alone, who have no family to ask questions. He causes complications during surgery so he can harvest organs illegally. That's absurd, Sutton shouted. This man is clearly disturbed. Someone call the police. But Sarah was looking at Marcus with growing horror. Is that true? Is my baby really okay? I can't say for certain, Marcus admitted. But I have evidence that Dr. Sutton has done this to 12 other women over the past 3 years. 3 of them died. The others lost organs they didn't need to lose. And all of them were scheduled for early C-sections just like you. One of the nurses, Jennifer Torres, stepped forward. It's true, I've been documenting it, I have records, I've contacted NCIS. They're coming now with a warrant. Sutton's face had gone pale. Jennifer, you're fired. You're making false accusations. I'm telling the truth. Jennifer's voice was strong now, certain. You've been killing women for their organs. I've watched you do it. I've documented every case. And I'm not going to let you do it again. Sarah, Marcus said gently, it's your choice. You can proceed with this surgery if you want. But I'm asking you to wait. Just wait until NCIS gets here. Let them investigate. If everything is legitimate, you can have the surgery later today. But if I'm right, waiting might save your life. Sarah looked from Marcus to Sutton to Jennifer. Tears ran down her face. I'm so scared, my baby. Your baby is fine, Jennifer said firmly. I've seen your charts. There's no distress. There's no reason this surgery can't wait a few hours. Sutton moved suddenly, reaching for the syringe of anesthesia on the tray. This is ridiculous. I'm starting the procedure. But Thor was faster. The German shepherd lunged forward, not attacking but blocking Sutton's path, his teeth bared in a warning snarl. Sutton stumbled backward, his face white. "Call security," he said weakly. "That dog is dangerous." "That dog is protecting my patient," Marcus said, "and you're not touching her." The standoff might have continued, but the door burst open. Tony Alvarez strode in, 3 other NCIS agents behind him, all wearing tactical vests and carrying badges. "Dr. Richard Sutton," Tony said formally. "I'm Special Agent Tony Alvarez with NCIS. We have a federal warrant to search this hospital and seize patient records related to your surgical procedures. You are being detained for questioning regarding possible organ trafficking and medical fraud." "This is outrageous," Sutton blustered. "I'm a respected doctor. I'll call my lawyer." "Please do," Tony said calmly. "You're going to need one." "Ms. Mitchell, I'm Agent Alvarez. I'm sorry for this disruption, but we have evidence that your surgery may not be medically necessary and may, in fact, be part of an illegal operation." Sarah was crying openly now. "My baby, is my baby okay?" "We're bringing in an independent obstetrician right now to examine you," Tony said. "She's from a different hospital, completely unconnected to Dr. Sutton or this facility. She'll tell you exactly what your baby needs. But I can tell you that our investigation shows you were likely not in any actual medical distress." 2 more NCIS agents came in, along with San Diego police officers. One of them read Sutton his rights while handcuffing him. The doctor's face was a mask of rage and fear. "You can't prove anything," he spat at Marcus. "You broke into this hospital. Any evidence you found is inadmissible." "Actually," Tony said pleasantly, "a concerned citizen reported suspicious patterns in patient files. That gave us probable cause for a warrant. Everything we find today is completely legal. And Dr. Sutton, we've already found quite a lot. Your office safe, for instance. The one that contains detailed financial records of organ sales. The burner phone with text messages to your buyers. The list of vulnerable patients you plan to target. Would you like me to continue?" Well, Sutton said nothing, his face gray. They led him out of the room in handcuffs. Jennifer Torres was crying with relief. Sarah Mitchell was still on the gurney, looking shell-shocked. Marcus knelt beside her, Thor pressing against his leg. "You're safe now. You and your baby are both safe." "How did you know?" Sarah whispered. "How did you know to save me?" Marcus smiled and scratched Thor behind the ears. "My partner here tried to tell you on Saturday. He knew something was wrong. He's never been wrong before, and he wasn't wrong this time." Sarah reached out a shaky hand to pet Thor. The dog's tail wagged gently. "Thank you," she whispered. "Both of you, you saved my life." Over the next few hours, Pacific Memorial Hospital became a crime scene. NCIS agents swarmed through the OB unit collecting evidence. They found patient files showing the pattern of targeted women. They found Sutton's records of organ sales totaling millions of dollars over 15 years. They found connections to organized crime groups in San Diego, Los Angeles, and across the border in Mexico. They found evidence of 23 women who had been targeted, not 12. 23 vulnerable women who had been scheduled for surgeries they didn't need so their organs could be harvested and sold. 7 had died. The others had survived but lost organs, lost their ability to have more children, lost their health. An independent obstetrician examined Sarah Mitchell and confirmed what Marcus had suspected. The baby was perfectly healthy. There was no distress. The early C-section had been completely unnecessary. Sarah was sent home with instructions to come back in 3 weeks for a normal, scheduled delivery with a different doctor at a different hospital. Jennifer Torres was interviewed extensively by NCIS and praised for her courage in documenting the crimes and helping to expose them. The hospital offered her a promotion and a raise. Other nurses who had noticed irregularities but been too afraid to speak up now came forward with their own evidence. Marcus gave his statement to NCIS, carefully admitting only what he could legally admit. Thor sat beside him throughout the interview, calm and dignified, the hero who had started everything with a simple alert in a Costco warehouse. That evening, as the sun set over San Diego, Marcus sat on his back porch with Thor, both of them exhausted but satisfied. His phone rang. Jake Reeves. "You crazy son of a bitch," Jake said, laughing. "You actually took down an entire organ trafficking ring." "Thor took it down," Marcus corrected. "I just followed his nose." "The news is all over it. They're calling you a hero." "I'm not a hero, I'm just a guy with a really smart dog." "Well, that smart dog saved at least a dozen lives today. The women Sutton was planning to target next are all being contacted and warned. His whole operation is falling apart. They're making arrests in 3 states. Marcus scratched Thor behind the ears. The dog leaned into his hand, content. "Good, that's good." After he hung up, Marcus sat in the quiet evening thinking about chance and fate. If he hadn't been at that Costco last Saturday, if Thor hadn't alerted, if Marcus hadn't trusted his dog's instincts, if Jennifer hadn't been brave enough to help, if Tony hadn't been willing to listen. So many small choices that added up to saving lives. His phone buzzed with a text, an unknown number. "This is Sarah. The hospital gave me your number. I just wanted to say thank you again. I'm going home to Oregon tomorrow to be with my mom for the delivery. She's flying down to help. I'm not alone anymore. And my baby is safe because of you and Thor. I'll never forget what you did." Marcus smiled and typed back, "Take care of yourself and that baby. Thor and I will be thinking of you." He set the phone aside and looked at his dog. "We did good, buddy. We did real good." Thor's tail thumped against the wooden deck. 4 months later, Marcus received a package in the mail. Inside was a photo of Sarah Mitchell holding a healthy baby girl, both of them smiling at the camera. There was a note in handwriting that was still shaky from new motherhood. "Dear Marcus and Thor, this is Emma Grace Mitchell. She came into the world safely on November 3rd, right on schedule with no complications. My mom was with me. My friends were with me. I wasn't alone. I think about what would have happened if you hadn't been in that Costco, if Thor hadn't barked at me, if you hadn't trusted your instincts and investigated. I think about it and I start to cry because my daughter would never have existed. I would be gone, and a horrible man would still be hurting people. But that didn't happen. You saved me. You saved Emma. And according to the news reports, you saved many other women who would have been Dr. Sutton's future victims. I don't know how to thank someone for giving you your life back, for giving you your daughter. All I can say is that Emma and I will be forever grateful. She's going to grow up knowing that a Navy SEAL and his brave dog protected her before she was even born. God bless you both. Love, Sarah and Emma." Marcus pinned the photo to his refrigerator, next to his military commendations and pictures of his SEAL team. It was better than any medal. Dr. Richard Sutton was convicted on multiple counts of medical fraud, conspiracy to commit murder, illegal organ trafficking, and racketeering. He was sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole. 6 other people, including organized crime figures and corrupt medical professionals, were also convicted and sentenced. The hospital paid settlements to the victims and their families, totaling tens of millions of dollars. They completely overhauled their oversight procedures and hired independent ethics monitors to prevent anything like this from ever happening again. Jennifer Torres was promoted to surgical supervisor and used her position to implement new safeguards and reporting procedures. She became a national advocate for medical whistleblowers and helped pass legislation protecting healthcare workers who report misconduct. Marcus received a civilian commendation from the Secretary of the Navy for his work on the case, and NCIS offered him a position as a consultant on future investigations involving military personnel or veterans. He accepted, finding purpose again in protecting the vulnerable. Thor was awarded an honorary medal from the Military Working Dog Association and was featured in multiple news stories about the hero K9 who had saved lives with his nose and his training. He retired officially and completely, spending his days lounging on Marcus's porch and occasionally visiting schools to demonstrate what military working dogs could do. On a warm spring afternoon, Marcus sat on his porch with Thor, reading a newspaper article about how the Sutton case had led to nationwide reforms in hospital oversight and organ donation protocols. His phone rang. Tony Alvarez. "Got a case that needs a good investigator and a smart dog," Tony said. "Interested?" Marcus looked at Thor. The German shepherd's ears were perked up, his eyes alert. The dog knew that tone. The dog missed the work. "What's the case?" Marcus asked. "Missing veterans, 3 of them from Camp Pendleton, disappeared in the past month. Their families are worried. We think there might be a connection to a VA contractor." Marcus thought about those 3 veterans, alone and vulnerable, possibly in danger. He thought about Sarah Mitchell and how close she'd come to being a victim with no one to help her. He thought about how much of his purpose in life came from protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. "When do we start?" he asked. Tony laughed. "Tomorrow, I'll send you the files tonight." After they hung up, Marcus scratched Thor behind the ears. "Looks like we're not fully retired after all, buddy. You ready for another mission?" Thor barked once, sharp and clear, an alert, a warning, a promise. They were ready. Because some jobs never really end. Some missions choose you rather than the other way around. And when you have a gift, whether it's military training or a dog's incredible nose, you have a responsibility to use it for good. Marcus, Chen, and Thor had found their calling, protecting the vulnerable, exposing corruption, bringing justice to those who thought they were above the law. It was what they'd been trained for. It was what they were meant to do. And somewhere in San Diego, a baby girl named Emma Grace Mitchell was sleeping peacefully, her whole life ahead of her, because a dog had barked in a warehouse and a Navy SEAL had listened. Sometimes salvation comes in unexpected forms. Sometimes heroes have 4 legs and a tail. Sometimes justice requires courage from ordinary people who refuse to look away from evil. This was one of those times, and it wouldn't be the last. If this story of courage and protection touched your heart, please subscribe for more true stories of everyday heroes who stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that one person really can make a difference. Comment below which moment inspired you most. Was it Thor's loyal alertness, Marcus's determination to investigate, Jennifer's brave whistleblowing, or Sarah's survival and new beginning? We pray that God blesses every person watching this. We pray for protection over vulnerable people everywhere who are targeted by those who would do them harm. We pray for courage for those who see wrong and wonder if they should speak up. And we pray that each of us finds the strength to listen to that small voice inside us that says something is wrong here and to act on it, even when it's difficult, even when it's dangerous, because that's what heroes do. If you believe that ordinary people can do extraordinary things, if you believe that loyalty and courage matter more than fear, if you believe that God places us in the right place at the right time to help those who need us, write Amen in the comments below. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for believing in justice. Thank you for supporting stories that show the best of human nature and animal courage. Stay strong, stay faithful, and God bless you all.